Hello everyone, my name is Marina Moon, and today I'm going to talk about how to ground and why to ground in your tarot readings. I have found grounding a very helpful tool in creating a lot more clarity and a more direct connection with my intuitive knowing. It's a concept that I've been very familiar with, that I've watched some videos about, and that I've also experimented with on my own to see which grounding techniques are most helpful for me. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 specific ways that I use to ground. So let me talk a little bit about, before I start to talk about the 3 specific techniques, I'd like to talk about our normal mode of being when we're walking around in our day-to-day life. So usually when we are going to work, cleaning our house, making supper, hanging out with the television, we are usually in a doing mode. So if you think about that, we are doing something, we're thinking about something. There's a lot of mental energy that actually is within us. So if you think about mental energy, I think about the element of air, and too much mental energy can make us feel distracted, and it can make us feel a little bit restless. So if you think about anxiety can be looked at that way, just an excess of energy that has nowhere to go. So by grounding, we want to give that energy, that excess energy of air, that excess energy of just doing how we normally are in our lives. We want to give that we want to discharge that and give that energy a place to land. Now, it's interesting too that when we are doing a tarot reading, ideally we want to be in a receptive place, right? We want to just receive the information that comes in and be a clear channel for that information. But a lot of times we've been in this energy of doing. So let's say you come home from work and you make dinner and you do the dishes and maybe put a kid to bed if you've got a kid. If not, maybe you watch a TV show. And then you decide that you want to pull a card, an evening pull, an evening draw for the day. A lot of that energy of doing is still with you, right? You can kind of be in that place of doing and thinking. And so what we ideally want to do is bring in the element of earth, and earth is a feminine element. It's an element of receiving and being open. We think of Mother Earth, we call her a she, Mother Earth. So we want to go from this place of doing to this place of receiving, and grounding can be very helpful in helping us achieve that. So there's 3 simple ways that I use to ground. Some I found more effective than others, and I would actually love to hear about the ways you ground. So if there's any additional ways that you've used, I would love to read about them in the comments below. So the first one is a very simple technique. I would imagine that most of you have heard of this technique, and that's the technique of meditating, a grounding meditation. So what this looks like for me is that I close my eyes and I imagine my body being much like the trunk of a tree, and my root chakra sending out energetic roots into the earth, deep, deep into the earth. And when I see that happening, when I see that growth happening into the ground, I also see my crown chakra opening up, and they mirror each other. So the deeper my roots go into the earth, the deeper my roots go, or my branches go into the cosmos. So the more grounded I am, the more receptive that I am to those higher energies. And I've actually heard about this phenomena of the more grounded we can be, the more stable and receptive we can be for those higher energies. So that is probably my number 1 go-to grounding technique, particularly because I live in the upper Midwest where it snows so much during the wintertime, and I don't always have an opportunity to get outside into the elements. The other thing I want to share with you as well, actually, now that I'm saying that, when I go walking in like January, February, and it's like, whatever, 0 degrees, 10 degrees, and I've got my snowsuit on and I've got my hat on and I'm all bubbled up like that kid from, the Christmas Story, I will go to a field, because we live in a rural area, and I will literally, because I'm warm, I will literally just lay down, maybe make a snow angel, but I'll just lay down, and since I'm just very warm in my suit, I'll lay down on the earth and do that same thing. I'll lay down on the snow. And because I'm bundled, I can actually be there for quite a while, just grounding into the earth. And there's something pretty psychologically, emotionally very helpful about being able to do that in the middle of winter time for me. So the second way that I ground is by doing things, by manifesting something. So it doesn't matter if it's as simple as, boy, I've been meaning to, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank here, but I've been meaning to reorganize, the cabinet in my bathroom, and that's just kind of driving me crazy, or my underwear drawer, or it could be anything, something that you've been thinking about doing, but kind of putting off, or it's just kind of been in the back of your mind, and it's like you just do it. And you're taking mental energy and you're creating something in the world. Now, this is particularly fun with projects. So if you paint, if you sew, if you do anything that is a hobby that's creative, that would be a way to ground your energy. I've also found that weeding, even though it's not at all my favorite thing to do, after I spend a morning weeding and I come back and I go to my tarot desk, I am much more clear in those readings. So there's something about just doing and creating something in the world, however minimal, or however important or not important that project might be. Okay, and so my third way to ground is actually my most favorite way to ground, but one that I'm not always able to use in Minnesota, and that's just literally sitting on the ground while I'm doing my tarot readings. I actually found that when I sit on the ground and I pull cards, there is a very direct connection to intuition, and I don't have nearly as much of that mental chatter as I normally do. In fact, when I first started my channel a couple of months ago, I would draw the cards as I do now, but I would take a long time to reflect on them, just kind of trying to sort out what was my mental chatter from what were the intuitive messages. And there was probably some performance anxiety mixed in there, to be honest. And so I found that it would take me a long time to really sift through what I wanted to say. And so sometimes I would take the cards, walk away from them, like go do the dishes, and come back, and I would find that when I would take a break and do something grounding, I would have a lot more mental clarity about that. But here's what I found a few weeks ago when I had a house guest and I came to tape outside, to record outside, because of privacy, because of noise. I pulled the cards and my time was running short because I needed to really post that video. And I didn't have time to normally sit with the cards as I normally would. And the messages just came. And I repeated it the next week, and I found that whenever I'm sitting outside and doing these readings, those intuitive messages come through a lot more clearly. And there's not that little voice as much in the back of my head going, oh, are you sure? Are you sure you're not just echoing what you heard somewhere else? Or, are you sure that card doesn't really mean that most of the time? Are you sure you're getting your messages right? So, this is that mental chatter that we want to ground through our grounding practice. If you've never experimented with taking your cards outside, laying down a blanket if it kind of freaks you out to have your cards on the grass or on the sand, I would really encourage you to practice, because it really is was a pretty significant difference between reading on the outside and reading on the inside. One thing that I'm going to try to do this winter when the snow is here, or it's too cold to read outside, is that I'd like to experiment with doing some readings for myself literally on the carpet, on the ground somewhere, and seeing if I can get a similar connection. My sense is that it's not going to be as strong because there's something about the energetic frequency of the earth that's probably very helpful, but I'm really curious to try that and see if it works as well. So yeah, those were my tips about how to ground and why it's helpful to ground. I'm really finding that for someone like me, so if you're someone like me, someone with a lot of mental activity, mental chatter, kind of the rational, maybe critical piece is very strong in you, that you could really benefit from a grounding practice. So anyhow, that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to hit like. I invite you to subscribe to my channel. And if you think there's somebody that would appreciate hearing this message, please feel free to share. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.